This episode of the R&R podcast is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Newark Auto Body. With winter weather and slick road conditions comes black ice and accidents, things we don't want to deal with. And if you've been in an accident and your car needs a little TLC, we're letting you know you need to look no further than Newark Auto Body and Zanesville Auto Body. They're safe, they're reliable, collision repairs is their business, and they do it like no other. Newark Auto Body and Zanesville Auto Body is a local, family-run, and veteran-owned business. It serves Newark, Zanesville, and the surrounding areas. And guess what? They work with all insurance providers to make your experience hassle-free, and you can't beat that. And check this out. If you're a U.S. military veteran, even better. Ask about their special discounts for vets right at the shop, and they'll be happy to help you. Now, look, we know it can be very hard to find a trustworthy car mechanic. However, we've got the answer for you because the people over at Newark Auto Body and Zanesville Auto Body, they've got you covered in every way possible. They care for you first, and they make sure they keep you safe and back on the road. Do a favor for us. Visit them today at autobodyofnewark.com and autobodyofzanesville.com. I'm going to give you that again. At autobodyofnewark.com and autobodyofzanesville.com, and they'll get your repair started right away. Our one-car gold class team of skilled collision repair technicians will make your vehicle like new again. No doubt about it. We'll add links in our show notes and tell them that Press Play sent you.
Part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome to another Reghi and Roda podcast right here on the Press Play Podcast Network. As we get started, a shout out to our fantastic producer, the one, the only, you know him, you love him, you can't get enough of him, at least we can't. That would be Ty Cordts. Without him, you don't hear us. So Ty, thank you so much. And Michael Reghi, the 2024 NFL season is officially in the books, and the EAGLES Eagles are your Super Bowl champs after they just destroyed the Kansas City Chiefs 40-22 in Super Bowl 59. I was wrong on my prediction on that. Where were you going into this Super Bowl?
Yeah, I originally had Kansas City, I think, Kenny, as well, the last time we were together. But here on the X over the course of the weekend, I kind of decided to switch that up and take Philly because to me, this Philadelphia football team, I think they were the most complete of any team in the National Football League this year. And the more I got to think about it, I said, well, sure, this is a two-time champion in Kansas City, and yes, they're a very good football team. Real simple, when I looked at it, and again, to me, Philadelphia was, and I don't think it particularly close, far and away the top team in the league this year. So that's why this weekend, like I said, just on the X, put out my call for Philly to win this, and damn, they were dominant, huh?
Michael, I didn't have the balls to switch my picks on my apps because at the beginning of the season, I picked Kansas City on some futures bets.
Yeah.
And I had a chance to cash out for about half of what I could have won, right? But I was stubborn, and I went with my old adage of, in order to be the man, you got to beat the man. Well, that fizzled tonight as they beat the man in Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, if you will, and it wasn't even close. 40-22 does not do it justice. They were dominating in every way, shape, and form, from the coaches to the offense, defense, special teams. And I think as good as Jalen Hurts was, and he was the MVP, 3 total touchdowns, almost 300 yards in the game, he deserved it. But the key to me in this win was the front four of the Philadelphia Eagles, and Vic Fangio's defense did not have to blitz one time, Michael. They got pressure with 4 guys sacking him 6 times, forcing 2 interceptions, 1 pick six, and a fumble. And to me, that's where this game was won and dominated by the Eagles.
Without doubt, Fangio's tremendous, man. He had his guys, so he's been telling them for the period of the preparation. We're not blitzing. You four are going to get home. And I have tremendous confidence in you to do that. And man, that they did. And that impressive as hell, Kenny. I mean, the way that defensive football team played, they just flat out dominated, eviscerated, however you want to best mark it. They took care of that Kansas City offensive line and made them look rather pedestrian, didn't they?
They made Mahomes look. I tweeted out today he looked like a Cleveland Browns quarterback playing today.
Well, yeah, as in he wasn't real good today. Mahomes turned it over 3 times, and the 3 turnovers were early in the football game, Ken, when everything got decided, or at least when I say decided, I mean, you started to see that, damn, this is going to be very difficult for Mahomes and the rest of Andy Reid's offense to do enough to be able to beat Philly tonight. And it was a domination. It really was. And, 3 turnovers for Patrick Mahomes, 2 picks and the lost fumble. So he's now 3-3. In 6 Super Bowls as a starting quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. So, I mean, it's hard to say that, yes, that I don't know. You go for 3 in a row, sure, I suppose, because we're not talking about that many football teams that have had a chance to do so, right? So what are we talking about? No, so not 59 Super Bowls, Ken, and now still no team has won 3 in a row, right?
And I didn't take that into consideration, Reg, right? There must be a reason why you can't win 3 in a row. And I had the blinders on, and I even said I did a Riding with the Roadman, video and threw it out there. I wanted to switch my allegiance or my picks, and I should have with my head instead of but I just thought, you know what? We are going to see history. Mahomes is that good. He's going to find a way to win a close game. Well, this thing was 24-0 at the half, I think it was, Reg. And that there was no Tom Brady Patriots comeback against the Falcons in this one because of the way the O-line and D-line for Philadelphia were playing in this game.
Yeah, and if you think, well, wait a minute, because but if you have in mind, well, come on now, winning 3 Super Bowls in a row, but Kenny, now think about this. So I decided to look back at it, right?
Right.
So the 59 Super Bowls, we know Tom Brady and the Patriots had a shot. Nope, didn't happen. How about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Miami Dolphins of the 70s, Kenny? Both superb and dominant franchises, right?
Yep.
They had their both of them had won 2 in a row, right? Couldn't win the 3rd. Let's go into the 80s, Ken. Now you get to the San Francisco 49ers. No team dominated that decade more than San Francisco did, right? They didn't win 3 in a row. And then you take it into the 90s with Jimmy and then Jarrah and the Dallas Cowboys, and they too had the opportunity to do it. So we're talking about dynasties like Pittsburgh and Miami in the 70s, right?
Yeah.
San Francisco in the 80s and the Dallas Cowboys in the 90s, and not a one of them, they all had opportunities. Not a one of them could win the 3rd consecutive Super Bowl. So, I mean, come on now. Hell, if that doesn't tell you that, what kind of strength there's got to be able to do it, well, those franchises couldn't do it. So that's no joke, man. It's just a situation where, I mean, until somebody does, Kenny, hell, we may never see it. You don't want to ever say never, but I mean, we're seeing how difficult it is to win 3 in a row.
Yeah, Michael, and Philadelphia, they've got to do it 2 more times, right? And we see how tough it is. So we'll have to wait and see if Jalen Hurts and this team. Hey, how about kudos to the Mount Union grad, Nick Sirianni, who started. his coaching career with the Chiefs when Andy Reid comes there. I guess they parted ways, or Andy said, hit the door, right? And now, after losing to the Chiefs 2 years ago, Sirianni and the Eagles get their revenge, and Larry Karras has to be smiling from ear to ear as another one of his proteges from that coaching tree that is Mount Union, slash Karras University. This one is a big win for Nick Sirianni, and it was a great moment after the game with his son as they did the EAGLES Eagles chant. So I'm happy for him. And it's painful as a Baldwin Wallace graduate to say that, but they've owned us now for the last 3 decades. So I'm over it. And a nice local story from that standpoint.
Well, no question about it. And it just shows the type of football program that is as long lasting as any we've ever seen in what Larry Karras put together at Mount Union. And so many of those that coached for him, played for him, and then became coaches on his staff have had the kind of success. But for Nick Sirianni to get it all started at Mount Union under Larry Karras, again, I think it speaks volumes about Karras and the type, not only of program he had, but those that are in it, and how they understand about what winning takes, Ken, right?
Yep.
I mean, what it takes to win in football, which, with all due respect to the other team sports, to me, will always be the most difficult to sustain team success, as in winning championships. Again, with all due respect to baseball, basketball, and hockey, the team sports, I just don't see how any of those duplicate how difficult it is as in football, in the National Football League.
Hey, just so we don't get any emails, texts, or Twitter messages from the statistical police out there, Reg, this was Mahomes' 5th Super Bowl. He's now 3-2 in 5 Super Bowls. So he's only played in
3 and
5.
2?
3 and 2.
Okay. I had 3 and 3. All right.
No, this was his 5th. He had a chance to go 4-1. As we mentioned, I think the last time we talked, that would get him more than halfway to Tom Brady. Hey, do you think Brady's watching this and he's trying to call it as honestly as he can, but he's smiling every time Mahomes gets sacked there, so his Super Bowl record isn't infringed on a little bit closer?
Yeah. I was thinking too, Kenny, that's another thing. Before the game tonight, thinking, so if Patrick Mahomes wins, that'd be 4, and he's only halfway there to surpassing Brady. So again, the difficulty of this, and again, I would never ever try to sell Patrick Mahomes short, because he's that good.
Yeah.
He's that much of a winner. But Ken, I will say, I don't know, man. I don't know. So he's 5 away. Think about that. 5. I know. So in other words, got to win 5 Super Bowls to surpass Brady's mark. I'm not going to say he can't, but I'm going to say it's going to be very, very difficult to do.
Yeah, it took, I think, after their first couple, it was like a 10-year drought, Brady was saying, but he was able to play so long. He got 10 cracks at it. He was 7-3 in Super Bowls. So, that's 5 for Mahomes now. So he's got to go 4-1 in his next 5 Super Bowls if he's lucky enough to get there, just to tie Tom Brady, who's still the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. And some interesting comments from him as I was watching the game. Always great to hear from him. I didn't think they dove in enough to him with the Atlanta Super Bowl win when it was 24-0 at halftime. I wanted to hear more from Brady as to, okay, what did they do? How did they do it? How were they able to come back from a 28-3 deficit? I would have liked to heard more in the broadcast about that, but that's just me, trying to. I love hearing the greatest talk about their achievements, especially when their backs were against the wall. So I wanted a little more on that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and going back and thinking about that now. Again, Matt Ryan and the Falcons ineptitude after
Yeah.
getting that lead, right? And playing so poorly after they just played terrific to establish the lead had a little bit to do with that, in my opinion. And that's not to take anything away from, Belichick and Brady in New England to win, because as we were saying, regardless of what situation you put yourself in, it's hard as hell to win. So it's going to be an interesting watch to see what Andy Reid, the Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes are able to do here and going forward. But again, as we just laid out, man, the numbers, to me, I just don't think it's going to happen. Maybe they'll prove me wrong, but I don't know.
Here's why I don't think it's going to happen either, Michael. Through that entire run, Tom Brady had Bill Belichick as his head coach. I can't see Andy Reid sticking around for 5 to 7 to 10 more years. Heck, he said he's coming back next year after that. He doesn't know. So there was that relationship between Brady and Belichick. And also remember, Brady, even though he came in and left a number of times, he had the same offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels, for all 6 Super Bowl wins in New England, Michael, right? So you're not going to see that relationship with Patrick Mahomes, I don't think either. So those are why a couple of reasons why I don't think he's going to get to 8 for sure, and not even 7.
I'm with you on that. So we'll see, and I'm sure that I don't think Andy Reid's going to give you too much of an idea here now in the offseason, other than to say, we'll be back and be ready to go when training camp starts in July. But I agree with what you just said. I don't know about, his long term and how much longer he wants to go with this. And
Right.
I get that's to be determined. We'll have to see.
Yeah, and they need to beef up that offensive line. It just got exposed in that loss to the Eagles here in Super Bowl 59. And for Philadelphia, D-line is solid, O-line is solid, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Hey, you know what? They got to be the favorites going into next year after this performance and getting revenge from what happened 2 years ago when they probably should have beat, right? The Chiefs even back then. So they're definitely, these are the 2 teams to beat. The Browns, not even in the same vicinity, not in the same universe as either of these teams moving forward, Michael.
Unfortunately, no. But I guess we could put a period there and leave it at that.
Well, I'll add one more note to it. All right. As I was watching Saquon Barkley celebrating and smiling from ear to ear, thinking, boy, is he happy to get the hell out of that crappy situation in New York with the Giants. I can't help but think that Myles Garrett, while watching that, is thinking, man, look at that. Barkley left a lousy organization, and he's the Super Bowl champ. I've already said I want out of Cleveland. I want out even more now after seeing Barkley in his first year win a Super Bowl championship with a true top-to-bottom excellent organization.
Yeah, that's simply going to fuel the fire, right?
Yep.
For Myles Garrett to pretty much solidify his thoughts on that. So, again, Kenny, without getting into it a great deal, which we'll be able to do here in subsequent R&Rs, but I just don't see any way that the Browns are going to be able to make this work with Myles Garrett.
All right, the hell with the Browns. Let's talk about the Cavs after this break, because they still have the best record in the East as we tape this at 42-10. They go out and make a big trade at the trading deadline. They get DeAndre Hunter. I want to get your thoughts on that, as well as the rest of the regular season moving forward. Is this enough to give the Cavaliers a chance to take down the defending world champions and the Eastern Conference champions, the Boston Celtics? We'll get into that when the R&R podcast continues right after this.
What's up, everyone? I'm Holly Wetzel.
And I'm Tybus Powell.
And we are your hosts of The Orange is Oranger, a Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. We give you all the dog pound coverage that you'll need to get you through the regular season, hopeful postseason, and I'd say off-season, Tybus, but is there really ever an off-season for this team?
Thankfully for our podcast, Holly, there really never is when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. Don't miss our breakdown of each week's matchup, game recaps, and any and all news out of Berea to feed your Browns appetite. As we know, Holly, dogs gotta eat.
Yes, they do. So hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode of the Orange is Oranger, Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
Looking for new insights on the Cleveland sports scene with a unique side of Cleveland sports history? Then you found the perfect podcast. I'm John Sable.
And I'm Scott Sable, and we're hosts of the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, a podcast about Cleveland sports, but not your typical podcast about the land's sports teams. Join us as we embark on a journey of sharing a unique and historical side of Cleveland sports history with the help of some former Cleveland sports stars and other historical figures.
All right here on the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And we continue with the R&R podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network. And Michael Reghi, I was ecstatic. I was thrilled the other day when Kobe Altman and Mike Gansey went out and addressed the Cavaliers' biggest need before the trade deadline. We all knew it. It was a wing player. It was a long, lengthy, athletic 3/4 that can create his own, shoot from distance, and play defense. And while I wanted Cam Johnson, the next best thing for me was DeAndre Hunter, and man, they went out and, in my opinion, stole DeAndre Hunter from the Atlanta Hawks, and he is exactly what the doctor ordered, and what the Cavaliers needed to, I think, be in better position to challenge the Boston Celtics in the second half of this season and in the postseason. Your thoughts on getting Hunter for Niang, for LeVert, a few second-round picks, and some pick swaps?
Well, I understand, I guess, why you're saying that right on the surface. I have my reservations about this. They seem to feel that this is going to be the trade that I guess it's got to start with, being Boston. You got to do that first, right? In the East. It's either that or, wink, wink, maybe hope somebody else slays the Celtics, right, before you would get to them, meaning Boston to lose early in the playoffs. But, we're a few months away from that. I don't see that happening. We'll have a lot of time to discuss that. Kenny, there's no question that the kind of player you have in Hunter. I'm a little bit concerned, though, about Kenny. I don't think, you just said it. I don't think you can just throw to the wayside. You're making moves like that on a team that is 40, what are they?
42-10.
42-10 with a best record in the NBA, correct?
Yeah. Well, they're a half game behind Oklahoma City for best record in the NBA, right, but the best in the East right now.
Okay. So there's my concern. It's a little bit of a concern for me. And I hope that it shows to be in the next couple months of the regular season that it's not going to have to be that much of what could be doing something that takes away from the chemistry, the want to play together, and the capabilities that this team has shown in building that record. I mean, Karis LeVert, strong sixth man, and George Niang, certainly, I don't know if you want to call him 7 or 8, regardless, he's one of those two, right? Coming off the bench. So you trade, and I get it. You got to trade away. If you're going to try to make a move like that, well, you're not going to make that kind of move and be able to get off scot-free. I just, though, I'm going to be looking closely at if it works and what this does. And so I'm assuming now they're going to put Hunter in the starting lineup. Or is he going to take that LeVert role as a sixth man? What do you think?
I think eventually he's your starter, and it's a no-brainer. 6'8", 220, 7'3" wingspan. He's a more complete, consistent player than LeVert was, and Niang ever was. He averages the same amount of points as LeVert and Niang together in less, total minutes. He can defend 1 through 5. He can shoot from beyond the arc at about 38%. He's an 80-plus free throw percent shooter as well. He can create off the dribble. LeVert was 0 for his last 13 as a Cavalier in his final 2 games.
Well, okay, but that's 2 games.
Well, no, Michael, he was too inconsistent his entire time here. He'd give you 41
No, you don't
one
like
night
no.
2 the next
You
night.
hate Karis LeVert, and that's cool. You've got a right to do that.
Michael, I hate that he was
He was
inconsistent.
one of the best 6th men in the year last year, Kenny, and averaged 14 a game. Come on, man.
He's he's on his 4th team for a reason, Michael. Okay, if he were that good, he wouldn't have bounced around as much. He's too inconsistent, just like Max Strus is. And this is an upgrade over Max Strus as well as Niang, as well as Karis LeVert, because I was hoping they'd get rid of Strus, to be honest with you. I thought all 3 of those guys were expendable if you could bring back a Cam Johnson or a DeAndre Hunter. And his age at 27/28, 2 years left on his contract at a reasonable price for a player that was the 4th overall pick or 5th overall pick in the draft, the same draft as Darius Garland, and the Cavs wanted him back then. This is a guy that they've had tabs on, since that draft. So I just think it gives them, something of more consistency at their biggest position of need for an extended period of time. And that's why I really, really like this trade.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. We'll see. We'll see if it culminates and they don't take because hey, to me, I don't know. Didn't we say it a couple of weeks ago? You better get to the NBA Finals.
For me, it's the Eastern Conference Finals.
And now, if you think that you've upgraded so much, maybe you just better win the whole damn thing then.
See, for me, it's been this year's step is the Eastern Conference Finals minimum. Okay, so that's what Boston's still the better team with their experience. They proved that coming into Cleveland and beating them recently. And I'm glad they did, Michael, because I think this pushed the front office over the top of saying, we're not standing pat with inconsistency from 3 guys at the weakest position on our team. We're going to be aggressive, proactive. They're 4-9 against the Knicks in their last 13 games and 3-8 against the Celtics in their last 11 games. That's what? 7-17 in their last 24 games against their 2 toughest opponents in the East. And one of the reasons is they don't have a wing player that they can count on. So, yes, is that going to put a lot of pressure on DeAndre Hunter to be that guy? Absolutely. But that's why they went out and got him. And I think it's going to help them more than it's going to hurt them. And we'll see if it's enough to beat Boston or New York 4 times in a 7-game series.
Yeah, definitely. And I think another thing that not a lot of people are considering, too, that I'm going to be looking at, everybody is all goo gaga over both Ty Jerome and Craig Porter, right? Okay. All right. Now we're going to find out because now both of them are going to they got to move into the roles now of LeVert and Niang. Correct?
Well, I think Ty Jerome was the best player off the bench for them already this year. So I don't think he has to move into a different role. It's going to be the same role for him.
Well, okay. I disagree with that, but we're going to find out. We're going to find out. I mean, if these guys are capable of playing, however you want to say it. Now they're going to play an enhanced and a larger role.
Yes.
On this basketball team. So we'll see. Are they going to be able to withstand? I mean, again, you don't know. We're going to find out, and that's what the NBA is all about. But now they're moving up in the rotations, and now they've got their shot to show that they can, as you know, Kenny, I mean, bench minutes, those, whatever these guys are got 22 to 24, 25 minutes a night are going to be very vital for this team to have production off the bench behind this behind his starting unit, and we're going to find out if these two guys specifically are capable of doing that. And again, it's not just, oh, can they go get 12, 14, 15 points a night? No, this team, as we're talking about, they are expected to now to compete for an NBA championship. So these guys now are going to be put in that role. And as you and I both know, there's a difference of when your expectations are to perform and contribute to a team that is a championship caliber team, like the Cavaliers are, as opposed to if you're coming off the bench every night for a team that wins 20 games and loses 60 every year. So we're going to find out. We'll find out about these young guys. Nice they're getting an opportunity, and we'll see if they're going to be able to handle this and keep the Cavaliers whole. Because, Kenny, I think the last thing you want to start doing is, having to play the Cavaliers starters in that 35 minutes a game now as you go down, go into the playoffs. The less they got to be on the floor, to me, the better off the whole organization will be, and might have you in a better stead that they've still got good legs, when we get into April and May.
Yeah, Jerome, to me, is going to be in the same role as he's been in all year. The one, I don't think Porter's going to be a big factor if Wade, Strus, and Okoro are all healthy. Those guys will get more minutes than Porter does. Porter, I think, only, maybe plays, 2 to 4 minutes a night just for a breather here and there with Garland and with Mitchell, or if somebody gets hurt. I'm looking at, getting Wade back from the injury. Strus, I think, becomes LeVert off the bench. And then Okoro, you want him for defense. And Jerome. So those to me are the four guys off the bench: Wade, Strus, Jerome, and Okoro, if indeed Hunter is the starter. Maybe when Wade comes back, they keep Wade in the starting lineup, and Hunter comes off the bench, where he was doing that with Atlanta this year, averaging 19 points per game. So I think those are the guys that are going to be, 1 through 9 for this Cavaliers basketball team. One of my areas I'd like to see an upgrade, Michael, is another big, because I'm not sold on Tristan Thompson being the third center on this team behind Mobley and Allen. If, you're rotating those guys, I think they need to go find another big when all these players get released in the next week and a half, and they have $1.5 million to spend in free agency money.
Yeah, it sounds to me like, Kenny, that's something that they're kind of keen on doing, is bringing another big with size in. Question for you.
Yeah.
I just can't help but, do you think that, which is it when the Cavaliers are in these trade talks? Because, I'm no big Isaac Okoro guy.
Neither am I. Neither am I.
So I'd like to know, and I'm saying this with a smile, do you think that the Cavaliers are and don't want to move him for whatever their reasons are, or is it because basically the other teams, no, thank you, not interested?
It's that one. Because all you have to do is go back and look at the offseason when he was a free agent and nobody wanted him, right? So the Cavaliers got him at a discount price because his market value went down. So I'm sure, they probably tried to throw him in as opposed to Niang or LeVert, one or the other. And the other, no, we'll pass. That's okay. He's one-dimensional. Yeah. He's a decent athlete that can play some defense, but we leave him wide open every time we play you guys because we know he can't make an outside shot. So I think they tried to include him, right? So
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. 5th overall. Wasn't he the 5th overall damn pick? What was he? I don't even remember at this point. But anyway, that's long gone and by the wayside. But it's, I think we're both on the money with that other teams just flat out said, we're not interested. No, thanks.
Well, we're going to get a good idea of how this works out for the Cleveland Cavaliers relatively soon. We've got how many games here till the All-Star break? Minnesota Monday night, and then Toronto to close out the first half of the season, Reg, right? So two more games left before the first half of the season comes to an end. But then we're going to get a good test for this newly acquired DeAndre Hunter and the Cavaliers to see how they fit together when they play the New York Knicks on February 21st and then the Boston Celtics on February 28th. So we'll see the impact he can make, on those two games here within the next few weeks.
Yeah. So right now, we'll say it since, we put the first part of this R&R edition about it. Do you feel better now? Do you feel that all things considered and everything we just said, that this gives the Cavaliers, now I'll just say, a more legitimate shot to, knock the Boston Celtics? I'm not even going to go to the, I'm just going to stay with the East right now.
Right.
Does
Well,
this give them
team.
a more legitimate shot to get past Boston, if that's what it comes down to again, that they're going to have to beat Boston to advance?
Michael, the way I look at this is I think the Cavaliers were the second or third best team in the East before the trading deadline. I think they are the second best team for sure in the East, behind only the Celtics. I think the Knicks and the Celtics, when you're in a 7-game series, those two teams scared me with the version of the Cavaliers, even though they had the best record in the East before the deadline. I really like Hunter in helping the Cavs get past the Knicks and to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I still think Boston is the team to beat when they're whole. And I think the Cavaliers are still a year away from being, definite 100% NBA championship contenders. Could they get there this year? Yeah, it's possible. Boston, suffers an injury or two or something like that, and the Cavaliers stay healthy. Yeah, but I still think from an experience factor, they're about a year away. And the fact that Hunter is under contract for 2 more years along with everybody else, that's one of the reasons I really like that trade, that they can keep him here and go with that starting 5 that I think they should go with, of Garland at the 1, Mitchell at the 2, Hunter at the 3, Mobley at the 4, and Allen at the 5 moving forward.
Yeah, well, I'm 100%. We're right on the same page. I'm with you. I don't think they're going to get past Boston, and nor do I think they'll win an NBA championship. But that's no different from the both of us as we really before the trade. So
I feel better. They've upped their chances. I still don't think they're good enough yet because of the lack of experience in big games.
Yep. No, I'm with you on that. And we're going to see. And I know, I guess, but to me now they're still saying, I still, because it's going to be Mitchell and Garland on the floor, right? For 36 to 40 minutes a game, come playoff time.
Right.
So that size backcourt, Kenny, we've talked about this for how many years now? The last couple of years. It still worries me, and it's still, to me, it is a factor. A lot of people say, well, it's not that big a factor. I don't agree with that. I think it is a factor. It doesn't preclude you from, being an excellent team, and you have a shot, but you still got to deal with, because how much, if you want to say Jaylen Brown's the 2, but we see it all the time, Ken, where Jason Tatum really swings back, if you want. I guess he's their 3, I suppose, but how much that he not only defends the other team's guards, but they get him in situations where he is being defended by guards. And boy, I don't know.
That's where Hunter comes in, Reg. That's where Hunter comes in. And Kobe Altman, I was on a conference call with him on when the trade Thursday. So this was Friday. And he said, we think Hunter is the ideal 2-way wing that we needed. And if you want to see him play defensively, go watch him on Victor Wembanyama the other night as he guarded the 7'3" stretch 4-5 or whatever. And he also went up against the Celtics in the playoffs a few years ago. And that's the other thing I like about Hunter. helped Virginia win a national championship, scored 27 points in the title game that year, along with 9 rebounds, and averaged 21 in the playoffs one year, 17 in the playoffs the other year in the NBA. I look for that in a player. I like winners, and the fact that he won a title, his roommate was Ty Jerome in college, so there's already a relationship there, and the fact that he upped his game in the postseason for Atlanta twice, that makes me feel a little bit better about their chances. But like I said, Boston to me is still the favorite to win it all.
Yep, I'm with you on that. So we'll see if this deal and bringing in a guy like Hunter is going to help, hopefully make a little bit of a difference. But you and I just said it. I don't believe this year it's going to be able to get them over the top against Boston.
Let's hope it does, and we're both wrong. We'd love to be wrong. And,
absolutely,
We'll see. But I think, Michael, the best teams in the league are Oklahoma. Boston is still the best. I go back to my adage, even though the Eagles beat the Chiefs, in order to be the man, you got to beat the man. So Boston's won. Woo. I think OKC went whole with Holmgren and Frankenstein that they picked up in the offseason and everything, right? I like them as the second best and the Cavaliers third best, but I'm curious to see now in these, 42-10 last 30 games with Hunter, what shape this team is in come postseason time. And I think it's an exciting time to watch them hopefully evolve and, give Boston and New York and OKC and everybody a run for their money.
Okay, so I got one little difference with you. Right now, I like the Knicks better than I do the Cavaliers.
Okay.
So we'll see in terms of just being a better basketball team and, being a team. When I say that, I'm talking about winning a damn championship, right?
Right.
Nothing else but,
right.
Because the stuff about, we got to the second round, got to the Easter Cup. No, that's not what any of this is about. So I would put the Knicks a little bit ahead of the Cavaliers. Not by a great deal.
Right.
Not by a great deal. But, and again, look, we only go back. I don't know, there's a little bit different. But, a year ago, we saw what happened.
Right. We'll see.
That's got to change right there in and of itself.
No doubt. We'll let it play out, and we'll break it all down for everybody here on the R&R podcast. Always great to catch up with you, Michael. Thanks to all of our loyal listeners and followers out there to the R&R podcast. We'll do this again real soon, all right?
Yeah, absolutely, Road Man. Look forward to it.